Jackie, again, thank you for coming to share your story. I think these kinds of conversations work best when it isn't just sort of panelists or board members that speak about something and we get someone's lived experience. Can you share that with us? Tell us about your addiction.
Absolutely. Like Kim was saying, I started abusing prescription pills, and eventually the cost started to add up, and the demand for them, it was difficult to find prescription, and I was introduced to heroin. And I didn't wake up one morning and say I want to be a heroin addict. There is progression with it, and if it wasn't one thing, then it was definitely the other.
Did you feel the moment you first used heroin like this was different, that it changed, or was it essentially you were sick and needed a fix?
I think it was a little bit of both. I was sick, I was seeking. I swore that I would never do heroin, but I was that sick, and I was introduced to heroin, and I tried heroin, and all bets were off.
You come from a law enforcement family. Your father's a police officer,
Correct.
A police chief, in fact.
Correct.
And you mentioned that, I think, when you talk to people to illustrate that there isn't a type of person that gets addicted. Are they surprised when you talk about your family background?
Oh, absolutely. I had a great upbringing. I was raised with morals. I was raised with value. I had a wonderful childhood. I didn't have any trauma or terrible things happen in my childhood, and it doesn't discriminate. I tell that to everyone.
You're now in recovery 8 months. You've been in recovery before, and that often is something that we hear when people are addicted. Can you tell us a little bit about the first time and how easy it is to, even after some time, go back to using?
Yeah, when I was 23, I did get a DUI. Excuse me. So I quit drinking and was in recovery from just alcohol. And after some time, I thought that I was fixed and I was cured. And after being sober for 2 years, I started drinking again, and within a matter of 6 months, I was doing heroin.
It's not a cheap habit.
No.
How did you afford it?
I worked a lot, and it was never enough. It got to the point where I was stealing. I was lying. I was manipulating anything I could do to get what I needed.
We're looking at you now in recovery as a success story, as somebody who each day will be in recovery. What's the secret? We always hear about rock bottom. We always hear about some sort of trigger that might make you change. What was it for you?
I wish I knew the exact secret, but for me personally, before I lost a lot of material things. When I got my DUI, I lost all those material things. And this time around, I still had a vehicle, a home, things of that sort. I just hit that emotional rock bottom where I was just laying in bed and I was left with two options. I was either going to ask for help or I was going to die. And that's what it took for me.
Kim, I don't know if there is a typical addiction story, but what's your reaction when you hear Jackie?
Well, first, just Jackie's bravery in sharing her story. If we don't hear from individuals who have fought this demon, we're not going to learn. We're not going to learn the pattern that we need to follow to help our community. So I think it's incredibly brave to talk about this. And I think Jackie is absolutely right. This is the great equalizer. This epidemic does not discriminate against anybody. Rich, poor, young, old, suburban, rural, urban, it's hitting all of us. And probably everybody in the room knows somebody, a friend, a family member, a loved one, whose life has been impacted by this. It just simply doesn't discriminate.
Before I ask Matt a question, this leads into it. Jackie, you have a child.
Correct.
And how has that child been provided for through your addiction?
I do have a son, and fortunately, like I said, I was brought up with a good family, and my family intervened, and he was legally adopted by my sister when he was 5 years old. I still have the opportunity to be involved in his life and see him as long as I'm doing what I need to do. But if it weren't for my family, who knows the danger I would have put that child in.